you're obviously going to choose your own image to put in here, right? So the example I used was Homer Simpson on here. Again, for the purposes of this project, it is easier to have an image like a cartoon that has just simple lines. But by all means, if you want to do a more realistic image like my picture here of my son, you're more than welcome to. I'll leave that up to you. So that image that you choose, whether it's a cartoon or whatever image that may be, like you see here, that then will be drawn inside of here. Okay, it has to fit in here. And the reason why I do not do the grid first is because if you draw the grid and then you start drawing your picture, and say you mess up, you're going to end up erasing the grid, right? So what I did is went ahead and drew Homer inside of that rectangle, right? You're going to draw your own image. Once you draw your own image, then you go ahead and put the grid on it and connect all the lines so it looks like this, right? Now, then once you have your image, like you see here, you put the grid on top of it, like this, right? And once you finish drawing it on your small grid, then you're ready to transfer it. Now, my image is vertical on my small rectangle. So when I put it on the big paper or the bigger grid, I also have to make sure that my grid is vertical as well. I can't put this drawing will not fit on this grid if it's sideways, right? All right, the next thing I'm gonna have you do to kind of get things ready in terms of the transfer, I'm gonna put this vertical like this because this rectangle here is vertical. Now we need a label. So because when you go from this small image here to this big one, even though you have the same number of squares, you want to make sure you put the lines in the correct square. So if you notice here how I put letters on the side and numbers on the top, we're going to do the same thing on the big rectangle. So go to your big rectangle with the big grid, and you're going to letter the first boxes, right? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, all the way down. And then on the horizontal, we're not going to do letters, we're going to do numbers. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And if you see, I did the same thing on my small grid. Same number or same letters and same numbers. And this essentially is graphing like you would in a math class, right? So the math class, when you're graphing a line, right? And you have your X and Y axis. In this case, it's only X and Y vertical, right? And so now I go from box to box, right? So here where his forehead is at, it's 1, C. So on my big grid, I go 1 and C, and then notice that it starts, this line goes here, right? And you're just basically plotting or graphing your drawing, your small drawing onto your big drawing. And this allows you to keep the proportions correct, right, in your image. Whoops, that eye is, so here, you can already see that I started making a mistake. If you look at his eye here on the small grid, it doesn't touch that line, and I made it touch it there. So I need to make sure that that eye doesn't go that high up. It should be here. And that's part of his forehead. See that? And that's basically what it is. You just go from square to square, from the small rectangle to the big one. But obviously you're going to be making your own image. I just used Homer because that's the example I use, right? And I've recorded all of this so that if you want to see it later you can. And I've also have the steps written out in this. So at the end, you'll have the same image on both grids, but this one will obviously be bigger, right, than the original one. So now you're ready to set it up. Now you need to make sure again that you put the same letters and numbers in. Obviously, if you wanted to just do numbers, that's fine too, as long as you know the right way that, or know that you're putting the lines in the right squares as you're enlarging it on the big one. All right?